Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
I try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down. I never understood that you gotta learn to swim, and you're gonna drown. People think I'm riding high, but I feel so low. I try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful, beautiful November 2nd, 2025. And what can we describe week 10 of the college football season? What we think is the best adjective to describe what's been going on? We got plenty, and I mean plenty, to talk about this beautiful, beautiful Sunday. We got some NFL football going on right in the background, just watching Christian McCaffrey go run all over the Giants defense. Shocker to virtually nobody. We have to talk about Hugh Freeze getting fired. My name is Tegan Randolph, your host. This is all powered by Kretschmann Media. Welcome everyone to the show. And I think we got to kick it off with the thumbnail of today's show. This is something that we've projected for a couple weeks now. It got prolonged because of the Arkansas win, but I'm of the idea and the mindset that if you're going to fire somebody, and that is in the realm of possibility, and you are within a game's decision, if you have to win a game to make this decision on whether or not you keep or get rid of a head coach, you might as well get rid of him. The Auburn Tigers have fired Hugh Freeze. It is officially done, and the coaching cycle, the coaching carousel that we have been handling as college football fans has been ridiculous. I mean, I cannot remember a time where we've had this many, high-profile jobs open, coaches getting pulled away from their leadership roles at a rate that I just cannot believe what we're seeing. Now, it's not to say that Auburn made a bad decision firing Hugh Freeze. It's not to say Florida made a bad decision firing Billy Napier. That's not what we're trying to say here. What we're trying to say is more to the fact of the quick trigger that we've seen from these institutions and the amount of money that is being allocated towards getting rid of someone to not coach their football team. $15.87 million Auburn just paid out. They're going to have to pay out the entire contract. There's been little clauses, like I think James Franklin is a great example where they've had massive buyouts, but it could be a percentage of that contract. Auburn, nope, it's going to be the entire thing. The entire contract is going to get paid out to him regardless of if he gets another football job or not, which of course I think Hugh Freeze is more than likely going to get another opportunity. He may go the Dan Mullen route, would be my guess. Or maybe he could just go play a bunch of golf, which we'll talk about that here shortly. He was 6-16 during SEC play, 15-19 overall, coming off of a loss to Kentucky, 10-3, mind you. DJ Durkin's going to be the interim head coach for Auburn, and like I've already stated, a $15 million buyout. Where do we start? Where do we start on this? That's setting the stage for Auburn getting rid of their head coach, which is something that we've, I guess, kind of projected. If you're reading the tea leaves, please go follow Pete Nakos on On3. He will keep you updated on all things coaching. Let's talk about one thing, because as I read the article about Hugh Freeze getting fired, there is a funny detail of kind of representing what Hugh Freeze was intended to be at Auburn. We have to understand, when you're getting rid of a head coach, what was their expectations going in? I think the reason why a guy like Billy Napier got so much room to work with at Florida, which is at this point a rarity in college football, was because he was taking over the regime from Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen left it in a terrible spot. And so he got much more rope to work with to try to get Florida back to the promised land. Auburn was in a very similar position. When Hugh Freeze was brought on. He was seen as the juice, the energy to the program to get them right, to get them back into the position that they needed to be in. And they gave him, obviously, the massive contract, gave him 2 years to basically figure this out, as he had no winning seasons at Auburn in totality, but more specifically, the first 2 years were really bad. They furnished Hugh Freeze in this contract a new car every single year, gas, service on said cars, insurance, a private suite to have his family for any home game, and a country club membership. It's funny to talk about that country club membership because I remember, if you do not recall SEC Media Days, maybe you don't follow until the football is kicked off and we're actually talking about real games on the sport. There was heavy criticism on Hugh Freeze for his golfing habits. And you become to realize, was this a coach that was really wanting Auburn to succeed, or did he want the luxury of being the Auburn head coach? Very similar to a Brian Kelly that loved to be the LSU head coach, but didn't really understand what it took to be a successful LSU head coach. And Auburn's going to give you as many resources as you need to be a successful ball coach there. But when you miss on the quarterback, as much as Hugh Freeze did, there has to be consequences for your actions. With no winning record over 3 years, didn't even make it to the end of the third year, and no bowl win. As traditionally, if you do not know college football, the rule of three, by that third season, unless you've completely gone off the rails, should be the litmus test of you have your guys, you have your team, your program invested into this team, and losing 10-3 to Kentucky. Hugh Freeze wasn't just supposed to be the juice for Auburn football. He was also supposed to be the offensive guru, the offensive mind, the one that's supposed to have this high-powered offense that went and beat Nick Saban and it was incredibly dynamic and all these different things, and it was everything but that. They have Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton, all these talented players on the offensive line, and yet the quarterback position continues to be a misfire after misfire after misfire. You couldn't miss this opportunity. Year 3 didn't have to be a 10-2 record, a college football playoff appearance, maybe fighting for an SEC championship. That's not what this year was supposed to be for Auburn. It could be that because the talent roster that is on Auburn right now in 2025 in November is damn near an SEC title caliber roster outside of the quarterback position. And you have to have the consequences for continuously missing on the one area that you are supposed to specialize in the one area that you were hired to get right, and you failed time and time again. Jackson Arnold, that was the guy. Like, you have all the resources you wanted in NIL funding and being able to bring in talent. I mean, they have top 15 recruiting classes stacked upon one another. That's something that you could point to and say, oh my gosh, Auburn's really got a talented roster. Maybe they're a quarterback away, but this is not the NFL. You can't just go trade for a guy. Maybe you wanted to go trade with Oklahoma and really believed in Jackson Arnold, but this offense was putrid. You're watching an offense and a quarterback that's making one read every single time. He's not going to throw over the middle. And how limited of an offense, you don't even have to be a rocket scientist or a guru in football to understand how limited of an offense having one read and not being able to throw over the middle of the field can do to a team. This defense is incredibly good, an incredibly dynamic defense with NFL players at every single level. But if you cannot get the offense right, if you cannot get the quarterback right, it's a moot point. It doesn't matter. And it's wild to think about that, and you could say it's the hindsight game, but it's crazy that they said, Jackson Arnold, you're the guy. This is not supposed to be a slide at Jackson Arnold, but I don't know how, if you could see him play at SEC level the year prior, it's not like he was at the G5 or maybe the Big 12 or the ACC and struggled, and maybe if you gave him more talent around him. No, you saw him in the same level conference in obviously a worse situation offensively, but you didn't really have much to hold on to except for scramble drills. I'm sitting here looking at it like, what were you expecting? And then they go, I believe they have Deuce Knight, who's a project quarterback, 5-star kid that's going to be more than likely very good, not this year, but down the road. Your job, if you were Hugh Freeze, especially with how this season started, was to give some semblance of hope, some semblance that maybe At the end of the year, we'll host Alabama, and then maybe year 4 is the year. Maybe I just need another chance. I need to spin the wheel one more time for a quarterback. We clearly can't get this right. I need to go pay big for a different guy. And he didn't even give enough hope for Auburn to trust him. Hugh Freeze was more focused on golf than he was winning football games. And that's the truth at the end of the day. Hugh Freeze, I don't believe will get another SEC job. I'd be shocked in my lifetime if he gets another one, but who knows? Let's talk about the future with Auburn, because we've kind of ripped into Hugh Freeze. And I mean, it's wild to think about, and we'll talk about it on the Tuesday show. The transfer portal is about to be crazy, and I'll elaborate on that more than likely on the Tuesday show. Who should Auburn hire? Now, I haven't seen the job board. I mean, this happened, guys. This happened at noon. This was very recent. I honestly go straight to John Summerall. John Summerall is going to get a P4 job somewhere. He's been linked to the LSU job. He's even been linked to the Florida job. But I think as they go through their list and then Florida goes through their list, Auburn may circle John Summerall as the guy to potentially actually build a tangible culture at Auburn. He's going to be the group of 5 darling for this cycle at least. Now, I will say this. Auburn's going to be a player in a lot of these top jobs. I mean, for years, if I'm remembering correctly, Lane Kiffin was involved in some of their coaching searches, and Lane was linked to Auburn as well. Same with Florida, obviously with LSU. But I really begin to wonder, with Auburn, you need sustainability and you need tangible results. They were going through the mess of, I'm completely blanking on the previous coaching regime before Freeze. And then you bring in Freeze, you bring in the talent, and it's not executed. I mean, it's a mini Jimbo Fisher situation where you just keep bringing in all this talent and it doesn't even bring you results. So you're spending all of this money. Because this is not just, in my opinion, a $15 million buyout. This is a $15 million buyout plus the coaching staff that you may try to retain with DJ Durkin, who obviously has done a great job with that defense. Throw in the fact of all the NIL funding that you're going to have to do to keep guys like Cam Coleman and many others. I think Cam Coleman obviously is the one that everyone is circling to see, hey, are we going to get that report that he hops in the portal? I don't know what to expect. We'll talk about Auburn and the job overall, but this coaching search has been ridiculous. Like, it's been unprecedented. I may have butchered the actual vocabulary on that, but I'm shocked. I'm very much shocked. Let's talk about week 10. This is the Stadium Pulse. We got some people in the chat here today, so I appreciate everyone for chiming in about Hugh Freeze. Would love to hear if you guys have any comments or any feedback whatsoever. And this is the Stadium Pulse. This is a college football show. We do this every single week, 3 times a week. You see it on the ticker below. We do Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Sunday is more the recap show, but over the past couple of weeks, it's really turned into who's gotten fired, who's up next, and apparently there's going to be a couple more major coaches that get fired. But that doesn't mean we won't talk about some of the games that are being played. And this weekend, I'd give it like a C+. I would maybe B- in terms of just some of the bigger games that happened this weekend. Not a very loaded slate overall. I mean, we had some duds at the night slate, but I think you could classify week 10 of the college football season, the collapse of the ACC. The ACC is just so gross right now. The ACC is an absolute mess right now. And we have an undefeated team getting knocked out by NC State. Haynes King should be in the Heisman conversation, but he won't. And it's quite ridiculous in my eyes. We're talking about a player that just dropped 500 all-purpose yards, 4 total touchdowns, and 1 interception. He is arguably the most valuable player in all of college football. You could make a very valid argument that Haynes King is that. Because if you were to swap him out from the quarterback position at Georgia Tech, yeah, Georgia Tech's going to be able to run the ball in a lot of creative ways. I can guarantee you no one's going to be able to match the impact that Haynes King has on this Georgia Tech offense. He puts his life on the line every single game. I don't know how by the end of this season, he's still going to be standing up with some of the hits that he takes. He fights for every single foot, yard, And he just makes plays. And this is not like a Riley Leonard situation where he can only run the football. He can make some dynamic passes as well. But we say all of this to say Georgia Tech is the 8th best team in the country. They just got upset by NC State. Their defense gave up on them. Their defense gave up 48 points on the road. Georgia Tech put up 36. Like I mentioned, Haynes King, 500 all-purpose yards, 4 total touchdowns, and 1 interception. CJ Bailey, we were talking about the transfer portal because NC State, if I'm remembering correctly, got rid of their head coach, or more than likely will get rid of their head coach. CJ Bailey is just a baller. This offense is ridiculously good. NC State obviously has their problems on the defense, but I am a big CJ Bailey truther. He's one of the more dynamic quarterbacks in the entire ACC. And hypothetically, if he was to look at a different location, I think he could be one of those top quarterback candidates that hops from one team to another and absolutely changes the trajectory of a program. And Georgia Tech's going to be fine because I wanted to talk about this game. The outlook of NC State, this is obviously a big win. This is a team that has been prone to pulling off some major upsets. It's a big one against Georgia Tech that has been kind of playing with fire over the past couple of weeks. And you've really looked at it as maybe they were going to drop one sooner or later. But the ACC standings are ridiculous. That's the point of talking about it today, because we'll talk about Miami here shortly. But we talk about winners around here, and Miami's not even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, top 6 team in the ACC. Why are we wasting our time with losers? We won't do that. We'll talk about them in a minute. The ACC standings as of November 2nd, 2025. Virginia, number 1. 12th best team in the country. Undefeated conference record. You may ask, well, didn't NC State beat them? That wasn't a conference loss because the ACC had a scheduling mess up. I have no words for that. We're going to move on to that. Georgia Tech, number 2, number 16. They're 5-1 in conference play. Pitt, 5-1, not ranked. Number 14, Louisville, 4-1. Pitt's above them because they have the extra conference win. They're 4-1. SMU is at 4-1. Duke is at 4-1 in order. And it is just a log jam at number 2. We could be looking at the ACC is just an absolute tiebreaker mess right now. The parity in this conference is ridiculous. And I think this weekend solidified the fact that it's more than likely going to be a one-team conference. There was talks about maybe 2, maybe 3. If you talk to Danny Cannell, he'll probably convince you that ACC should be multiple teams, but I think it's definitively going to be 1. And it's crazy to think that Clemson and Miami are not in this race. They're out. They're done. With the logjam that is going on at the top of the ACC, obviously Clemson lost to Duke by 1 point. I believe it was 49-48. Their season's been done. Miami, their season just got ruined. They're eliminated from the college football playoff. Miami has been eliminated by SMU. Overtime score of 20 points for Miami to 26 for SMU. What are our thoughts on this game? Honestly, we'll take a beat. I'm so appalled. This team at one point in my personal rankings was number 1 in the country. Miami, the Hurricanes. I'm like at a loss for words. I don't know what to say. Miami and Mario Cristobal, we could be looking at them being the next team, the next major brand, the next powerhouse in college football, because in terms of recruiting and talent acquisition, they're seen as a powerhouse. Mario Cristobal hot seat talks. Just take a beat, digest that, process that, whatever it may be. I said time and time again, when we talked about national champions, go scroll on the Stadium Pulse and look at the videos. I said time and time again, this team has the talent. I still believe they have the quarterback to go win multiple college football playoff games. As much as people are going to blame Carson Beck, and rightfully so, he threw the game-losing interception. I question time and time again, is Mario Cristobal a coach that you trust will have his team ready every single week? And I ask that not because I am saying that I do. I ask that because I doubt him every single time. And it's for games like this, and it's for games like Louisville, where he is going to be outcoached by better coaches. He can bring in as much talent as he wants. He can pay millions of dollars for Carson Beck. He can have Malachi Toney, an offensive line loaded with NFL talent, a defense that is resurged as one of the best defenses in the country, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the right head coach that can make the best decisions. And really, football, it's not rocket scientists. It's truly something that could be as simple as who has the best quarterback on the field, who is the best head coach, and who has the best overall game plan going into it. And that goes with the head coach. We saw just this Saturday with Georgia, a team with Kirby Smart, the best head coach in all of college football, find a way to win because he has put his team in the best position to do so. Mario Cristobal will not do that. This team takes a punch in the mouth and they go lay down and cry for 30 minutes. This is not a team that has the heart of a... Ooh, I got a little heated there. We got 8 people in there. I almost let it slip. We almost let it slip. This is family-friendly channel. This is a family-friendly channel. This team will roll over if you let them. And SMU, let's talk about the winners here. You get Rhett Lashley, who I'd been projecting to be the Arkansas head coach for weeks at this point. Former Arkansas player, gets an extension and then ends up beating number 10 Miami at home. Kevin Jennings, incredibly dynamic in this game, put up a ton of yards. This offense bounces back, even though in the stat sheet of just putting up 26, one of them being an overtime win, even though that's the case, they still find a way to get the wins where they need them. Ahmad Moses, 2 interceptions against Carson Beck. I mean, the turnover battle was the difference in this game. And when we're talking about an overtime game, little things like that, I mean, it's not little to say 2 interceptions, but I more mean it's not like Miami had like 4 sacks against Carson Beck. SMU had only 0 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. The little things will stack up in a game like this. And Miami never took the game over. They didn't really dominate the game physically. They weren't a team that was just driving up and down the field. This was a team that kind of lethargically was going through the motions. They're talented enough to stay in these types of games, but this was the difference between a well-coached team and an okay and average coach team, truly. And I'm just so disappointed in Miami because it's just one of those things like clockwork where you're sitting there going, they will find a way to lose. They will find a way to not make it to the ACC title. They will find a way to not make it to the college football playoff, regardless of the talent that's on this roster. It's getting ridiculous. If this is your first time watching the Stadium Pulse, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you sticking out with me. We got plenty of people in the chat, and it means a ton for you guys to spend some time talking some ball with me. We stay here for about 30 minutes for every show. As you can see, the schedule is down below. My @ is right down there. If I could get the tracker right, I appreciate it. I do. We have a ton of traction on this channel. A bunch of metrics are looking great. I'm seeing a lot of green, and you don't care about that. I do, and I care for it because I want to have a college football community to talk to, and just want to talk some ball with you guys. That's all. 30-minute show, digestible. Grab your food, grab your popcorn, whatever it may be. Let's talk about Diego Pavia in Texas. Texas gets their second top 10 win of the season against number 9 Vandy. They make their return home. We just saw Arch Manning's best game of the season. By far, Arch Manning was fantastic. He was on time. I don't know if he had to get popped in the head for a concussion, which I hope he's doing all right. Obviously, concussions are not something to make a joke of. I don't know if he had to get pulled over. If you follow Twitter, or if you're on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The dude was balling out. He was on time. He was accurate. He was extending plays. And I will also say what really helped this Texas offense is, Vandy can't tackle on the outside. Clearly, first play of the game, swing pass to the right side with Ryan Wingo, 75 yards to the house. If you're not going to tackle the guy, this Sarkisian offense is going to burn you time and time again. It's what's going to happen. You can't just let them run all over you because the screen passes aren't intended to be these big explosive plays. It's intended to be quick little jabs. So those longer developing plays force you to come a little bit closer to the line. And then Sark likes to take the deep shots down the field. But if you're going to let them win through screens, they're going to win the game pretty comfortably. And they got out to a 17-0 start. Now, the problem with that is Vanderbilt, though they did make a comeback late into this game, what I'm about to say may contradict that. Vanderbilt's not equipped to do a major comeback down 17-0. This is not a team that wants to work behind the 8 ball. This is a team that wants to take a lead and basically do what's the boa constrictor, a boa constrictor type of game. Very similar to what Texas did a ton last year with Quinn Ewers and their defense, was make a 6 or 7 or 8 point game kind of feel like a 10 or 15 point game, but it's not really that. It's more to the fact of their defense playing with the lead, having these prolonged drives, keeping your offense off the field. Problem is when you go down 17-0 in the first quarter, you're in uncharted territory if you're a Vanderbilt fan. And not to mention, Vandy, this was not a team that needed this win. It was a nice to have. Now they have to go win out for the rest of the year if they still want to be in the college football playoff. Texas is walking on a tightrope 6,000 feet above the air. They do not have the ability to afford a potential loss. They will be out of the college football playoff race. They'll be done for the season. Regardless of what happens, they could not afford a loss here. And they played like it. There was an urgency with Texas. There was a fire from a defense that, especially early into this game, got lit up against Mississippi State, and their defensive coordinator and this team seemed like they wanted to get as much of a bounce back as possible. You had an offense that was playing with urgency because they felt the most comfortable that they had felt all season. Very curious of what they're going to look like against Georgia, who I would expect is a better tackling team on the outside compared to Vanderbilt. But based on what we see for the first 3 quarters of Georgia, they're the worst team of all time. So we're talking about a lot of different factors for Vandy. Number one is they had 58 total rushing yards. They're not going to win games like that. They're not going to win games if they're going 58 total rushing yards. Diego Pavio is 365, 4 total touchdowns. He played great down the stretch. They had 21 points in the fourth quarter. But Texas is one of those teams where this is not a team you want to face if they have a lead and you have to work your way back. It's an uphill battle against a defense that was highly motivated. Like I mentioned, Arch Manning, 328 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Just a great game overall from him. And I posted a video on From Snap to Whistle Football, my YouTube channel, and I talked about it a little bit. I said, if you put up the tape for Arch Manning, you really do see a quarterback that has the talent. It's not like the talent just disappeared and it's non-existent. Like, this is a talented quarterback that isn't a 3-star with a big name on the back of his jersey. This is a guy that can make every throw on the field. He's got the arm talent. He's got the athleticism to create things. Just hasn't been able to connect to actual tangible results. And part of it has been his overextension of throwing the football. Part of it's been the inaccuracies, but you could see the thought process and the eyes are in the right spots. The footwork is there. There's bits and pieces there. And he was able to put it all together against a Vandy defense that is susceptible to a good quarterback kind of exploiting them. But this makes this Georgia game in 2 weeks very, very interesting for Texas. I'll be very curious on how they look following the bye week. We'll obviously talk about that game here in a couple weeks, but we have 3 people in the chat. We've had plenty of people coming through. I do appreciate every single one of you guys for taking the time to even listen to the channel and give it a shot. This is a college football show, nothing but college football. If you see, I hope the inverse camera, so I could be pointing at nothing. You see a logo up here. This is Kretschmann Media. They power all of these channels. I promise you, if you went to click on Stadium Pulse, you'll see a bunch of different channels. If you like NBA, if you like NFL, we got games on right now. It would mean the world if you guys go check them out. If college football is not your thing, I promise you they cover something that may be of interest if you're a sports fan. But if you are a college football fan, my name is Tegan Randolph. I appreciate every single one of you guys for taking the time to watch the Stadium Pulse. I will be back on Tuesday at 5:30 Central, and we'll talk some more Week 10 recap, but we got to start looking at Week 11 in the college football playoff race. Who's still alive and who is eliminated? We'll talk about that then. But with that in mind, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.